If you were to ask Google what are the chances to make the NFL, you will see it's very low. Even the percentage of kids that go on to play college ball out of high school is too. And I am 100% sure that there are kids that were dogs in high school, but the masses just don't know because of the lack of opportunity and exposure. And this kid here almost slipped away, but by the grace of God, he got that one shot and did not miss his chance to blow, because opportunity comes once in a lifetime. And now it's like all we hear is
the guy now who is favored to be the first name called.
Cam Ward.
Cam Ward, number one, seemingly the thing.
Yeah.
To the Titans.
He reminds me of Patrick. He reminds me of Mahomes with how he can be unconventional, throw the football from all different kinds of weird angles.
Tennessee, if they end up going with Cam, they're going to get a special guy.
Under that unforgiving Texas heat in West Columbia, a young Cam Ward was falling hard for football, way before the pads and stadium lights. It started on a dusty neighborhood field where the games were rough, the kids were bigger, and Cam, he was the smallest one out there. Quiet and reserved off the field, Cam didn't talk much, but his game spoke volumes. Smart, calm, and never the one to back down. On the sidelines was his dad, Calvin Ward, a youth coach who doubled as Cam's first mentor. In second grade, Cam went to him, eyes wide, asking to play organized football. Calvin told him to wait a year, maybe thinking it was just a phase. And exactly 1 year later, Cam pulled up with a sign-up sheet in his hand and said, "Remember you told me to wait until next year? Well, it's that time." That was it. Cam was all in. Football wasn't just something he did, it was who he was. He'd be up at the crack of dawn yanking Calvin out of bed for extra throwing sessions, obsessed with getting better. The kid was just wired differently. In the Ward household, everything was competitive. Whether it was board games or seeing who can throw the furthest, Cam lived for it. But it wasn't all highlight reels and perfect spirals early on. His mechanics weren't that good, his throws a bit shaky, and facing older, faster kids sometimes tested his confidence. There were moments where he wondered if he could really hang, but Cam never quit. Calvin was right there beside him, tweaking his form, running drills until the streetlights came on. Slowly, those wobble passes turned into lasers, and with every rep, his confidence started to match his drive. By the time he traded the Sandlot for Friday Night Lights, he wasn't just a kid with a dream. He was a quarterback molded by sweat, fire, and a whole lot of heart, and he was just getting started. In the one stoplight town of West Columbia, Texas, where Friday nights mean football, barbecue smoke, and the whole town showing up like it's Sunday service, a teenage Cameron Ward was quietly building something special. Under the buzz of old stadium lights and the weight of big dreams, he stepped onto the field for Columbia High, repping the Roughnecks, a scrappy little squad trying to make noise in a state where football is religion. Cam wasn't just another name on a roster. Even in a town barely pushing 1,000 students, his arm stood out like a diamond in the dirt. The crowd could feel it. This kid had it. But while Cam's talent was 2020 level, his offense was stuck in 1985. Columbia ran a dusty old wing T triple option, a scheme straight out of another era, built to chew up the clock with handoffs and misdirection.
The wing T is a lot of misdirection, a lot of under center stuff, a lot of bootlegs and stuff like that. We did a lot of 5-step drop with Cam because we wanted to use his arm and stuff like that.
Think about it. This man had a rocket launcher for an arm, but was out there throwing the ball maybe 7 to 8 times a game. That's like putting a Ferrari in a school zone. You could see the frustration in the stands. His parents, the fans, and even his coaches knew what he was capable of.
Football, he could just throw the football unbelievable. But he had that air about himself that you want as a quarterback. People followed him.
And yet, week after week, the system held him back. But Cam never complained. Never once did he pull the "let me cook" card. One of his coaches said he was never selfish. It was always, "Coach, what do we got to do to win?" And even in that outdated offense, the raw talent leaked through. Practices would turn into shows. Cam would drop back and sling the ball 50 to 55 yards on a tight rope. One assistant said it best: normal high school kids don't make those throws. But talent doesn't always translate on paper, especially in Texas, where every other high school quarterback is putting up video game numbers. Cam finished his senior year with 1,500 yards and 22 touchdowns. Solid, but not headline-grabbing numbers. Just to put things into perspective, last season, the top 50 guys in Texas threw for more than 3,000 yards. So Cam's numbers were tiny compared to them. Recruiters looked at the stats, looked at the system, and passed. One by one, Power 5 schools shrugged him off like he was just another small town kid. Even a Texas A&M coach, who told Cam's head coach that Cam threw the best 15-yard out he saw all year, kept it moving without offering a thing. But behind the scenes, Cam and his pops weren't taking no for an answer. Calvin turned into a full-time agent, hitting up coaches, cutting up film, driving Cam everywhere, wherever somebody might give his boy a chance. We're talking 4 a.m. wake-ups to drive 5 hours to a no-name named camp at East Texas Baptist just so Cam could throw in front of somebody who might care. At every big camp, Texas A&M, Houston, Texas State, Cam showed he could hang with the 4 stars and 5 stars, but again, no offers. He was that rare dude who had all the tools but nothing on tape, a quarterback with the cannon stuck in a system that never let him show it, so he kept grinding. Sundays were for private workouts with retired high school football coach Steve Van Meter, who saw Cam's gift immediately. First time they linked, Steve tried to catch warm-up throws. 2 passes in, he told Cam to bring his own receivers next time. Joking, "I got golf to play, I'm not breaking fingers for you." And Cam, he soaked it all in, tightening up his mechanics, cleaned up his footwork, and started letting the ball fly. Deep outs, sideline throws, stuff you just didn't see at the high school level. And Steve started filming it, posting clips, texting every coach he knew. "Am I crazy?" he asked. "How are people not seeing what I'm seeing?" But eventually, somebody did. The tape reached Eric Morris at the University of Incarnate Word, a FCS program in San Antonio. He saw the raw potential and made the call. 1 D1 offer, 1 open door. That's all Cam needed.
And so when we got into it, and started recruiting him, he played in the triple option offense. And so he didn't have the film that kind of showed like some of these other kids do. So that hurt his recruiting. And then what we did is we watched him play other sports. We went and watched him play basketball. He's the all-time leading scorer in West Columbia history. He saw the floor really well. He had a great presence about himself. He was a great leader out there. So I think kind of when we put all those things together, we thought he had tools to be a superstar.
He walked into UIW in 2020 labeled as a development quarterback, 3rd string on the paper, but Cam, he wasn't hearing that. "I'm going to win a starting job," he told his dad. Calvin tried to keep it real, telling him to stay patient. Cam looked at him in his eyes and said, "Do you believe in me?" And that's the thing about Cam. He doesn't do the rah-rah, no need to bark. He's calm, collected, and dead serious. He carries himself like a man who has been told no 1,000 times and still ain't folded. He left Columbia High unranked and under-recruited, but never unloved and never unprepared. He was forged into a run-heavy offense, boxed into a system, and overlooked by the football machine. But now, he got a stage, and he was coming for all the ones who doubted him. When Cam touched down at UIW, he wasn't some blue chip savior with cameras in his face. Nah, he was a kid nobody wanted. The one big schools ghosted like a bad Tinder date. UIW, a quiet little FCS spot in San Antonio, was the only D1 program to slide a scholarship his way, but all Cam needed was a shot, and from the jump, he wasn't waiting his turn, he was there to take it. Now, 2020 was wild for everybody, but for Cam, it set the stage. The pandemic pushed the season into the spring of 2021, and with that extended downtime, he ended up winning the starting job, and with only 6 games on deck, every play felt like it carried the weight of the whole season. And man, when that ball got snapped and Cam was under the center, it was time to go. No nerves, no hesitation, just a young quarterback out there slinging it like he had something to prove. Because to be honest, he did. From game 1, dude looked like he'd been doing this. Poised, confident, throwing dimes, dodging defenders, making it look way too easy. He put up 300 plus yards in every single game that spring. And he wasn't just padding stats against cupcakes. He lit up ranked teams for 6 touchdowns in back-to-back weeks. Coaches were scratching their heads like, who is this kid? By the time the smoke cleared, Cam had cooked up 2,260 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, and just 4 picks in 6 games. And tossing a couple scores on the ground just to flex. Oh, and he did it all as a freshman. UIW, a program that you probably can't even point out on a map, climbed all the way to number 13th in the FCS rankings on Cam's back. The buzz was real. This wasn't just some fluke run. This was talent meeting opportunity, and the world was finally catching up to what Cam knew all along. He was him. The recognition came quick. National media started calling. Awards started piling up. He walked away with the Jerry Rice Award, the FCS top freshman, period. The same kid who came out of high school with 0 stars and no big time looks. Now he was that dude. Even Coach Morris was like, wait, this the same kid who ran a wing T in high school. Cam went from running an old school ground game to leading one of the most explosive offenses in FCS like he'd been doing it since Pop Warner. He had that creative flair, that how did he even make that throw energy? Sidearm lasers, off balance darts, deep shots on the money. He had the full bag. But what really stood out, he never looked rattled. Calm under pressure, cool in the pocket. Teammates fed off that vibe. Fans started showing up just to see what kind of magic he'd pull off next. That one spring season didn't just change his story, it changed the whole feel around UIW football. Still, Cam knew the job wasn't finished. Once the season wrapped, while other quarterbacks took a breather, he jumped right back into the lab. That's when he linked up for the first time with quarterback coach Daryl Colbert Jr., a former Houston QB who knew how to take raw talent and turn it into a finished product.
Man, when we first worked out with each other, You know, it was kind of seeing all the different arm angles that he throws from, you know, ball dropping a little low at the time. It's just a lot of different things. And I went to go watch his film and I was like, okay, this is what makes him who he is. You know, being able to throw from all these arm slots, all the off platform. That's what made him very special.
The offseason grind was different. Long days under the hot Texas sun, Cam was breaking down film, tightening up his mechanics, and working footwork. His release got quicker, reds got sharper, and that natural arm talent was still there. But now it was paired with precision and polish. And here's where it gets fun. Cam wasn't grinding alone. Training beside him was Shedeur Sanders, a baller in his own right. The two young guns pushed each other every workout. Friendly trash talk, deep ball competitions, target drills that turned into mini shootouts. 1 minute they're clowning each other, next minute they're locked in playoff mode. Iron sharpens iron, and Cam, he came out of those sessions even more dangerous. By the time fall 2021 rolled around, folks weren't sleeping on him anymore. The zero-star kid who torched the FCS during the wild COVID spring season had the spotlight now, and with it came the pressure. The doubters were waiting to see if it was just luck, but Cam, he kept cooking. Right out the gate, you can tell something had shifted. He wasn't just reacting, he was controlling the tempo, playing chess while defenders were still figuring out the board. The arm talent had always been there, but now he was moving differently, more intentional, more polished, touch passes with finesse, darts in tight windows, better reads, and cleaner footwork. You could see the work from that offseason grind translate in real time. Cam had taken all that raw juice from the spring and refined it into something scary. Week after week, he stayed in his bag, constantly dropping 300+ yard games like it was just part of the routine. But then came week 9 against Southeastern Louisiana, and man, that was the one. Cam went full video game mode, 610 yards and 7 touchdowns. That wasn't just a performance, that was a statement. He wasn't just doing this against lightweights, he was balling against legit competition and making it look easy. By the end of the season, there was no doubt Cam had officially leveled up, 4,400 yards, 47 touchdowns to only 10 picks. With a 10-3 record and a conference championship, he didn't just live up to the hype, he outgrew it. He turned the program into a national conversation. From San Antonio to the rest of the FCS, folks knew that boy was cold. As the season wrapped up, Cam wasn't just a breakout story anymore, he was the real deal. He turned a one-off opportunity into a platform, turned doubt into dominance. And the wildest part, he was just warming up, because soon after, every school started calling.
Some schools out of high school, they rejected me, not gonna name them. They tried to get me back they tried to get me once I hit the portal. I didn't even want to give them no attention, you know, just because why would you take me down when, you know, you had a chance earlier.
After lighting up the FCS like it was backyard ball at a family barbecue, the kid from a tiny Texas school had outgrown his sandbox. His numbers were loud, his name was buzzing, but more than anything, his moment had arrived. Then came the call. Eric Morris, the man who believed in him when nobody else did, was heading to Washington State. Yeah, that Washington. Cold, remote, and a long way from the Texas heat. But Cam, he didn't blink. Loyalty and vision run deep when you've grinded for everything you've got. So when Coach Morris packed up, Cam followed suit. And he announced it by making this tweet: "Top floor, didn't take the elevator, I climbed my way up."
Loyalty means everything to me and my family. You know, not a lot of coaches show it in the recruiting process. They say the things that you want to hear, of course, to get you to their school. But at the end of the day, it's not many coaches who are going to do what Coach Morris done for me on and off the field.
Now, Pullman ain't exactly a dream destination for most folks from the South. Cam stepped off that plane into a world of gray skies, swirling snow, and silence so different it was almost spiritual. The first time he saw the field dusted in snow, he laughed. Different type of cold, literally and figuratively. But that was part of the journey. New town, new stage, new pressure. And about the adjustment, playbooks were thicker, defenders were faster, and those DBs, they closed windows like they were trying to trap ghosts. Spring ball was humbling. Cam found himself second-guessing reads, getting smacked around, and learning how unforgiving Power 5 football could be. That offensive line, let's just say Cam spent more time horizontal than he liked. 46 sacks on the season. But instead of folding, he leaned in. Late nights in the film room, extra routes with his receivers under the lights, and correcting mechanics. You could see the hunger in how he moved. By the back half of 2022, things started to click. That kid from a no-name program had proven he could hang with the big boys. That raw playmaker we saw at UIW, he had began to re-emerge. Now with better timing, more control, and a deeper understanding of the moment, he led Wazoo to some gritty wins. Even caught the nation's attention with a signature upset that turned doubters into believers. By the season's end, 3,200 yards, 23 touchdowns, and all Pac-12 honorable mention. Not bad for year one in the big leagues. But 2023? That's when Cam said, "I'm not just here, I'm here to own it." From the jump, there was new energy in his step. Cam was no longer reacting to the speed of the game. He was dictating the tempo. He had full command of the huddle. His throws were crisp, creative, and damn near disrespectful. You know the ones, those Mahomes-style sidearm lasers. No-look flicks that made fans lose their minds. This wasn't just progress, this was the arrival. Mid-season, it was clear. He was one of the most electric players in the country, and the numbers, straight up video game. 3,700 passing yards, 25 touchdowns to just 7 picks, plus 8 more on the ground. By the time the season ended, Cam had his name etched into Washington State record books. But with the glow came the nitpicking. NFL scouts started peeking closer, breaking him down frame by frame. Some were mesmerized, others not so much. They threw around phrases like arm arrogance, or worried his off-script magic wouldn't fly on Sundays. Some folks even questioned whether he was a product in a quarterback-friendly system. But Cam heard it all before, and every time he locked in, leveled up, and proved folks wrong with work, not words. After a breakout 2023 season where he lit up the Pac-12 like it owed him money, with over 3,700 yards, 25 touchdowns, and a handful of jaw-dropping plays that made you sit up on your couch, he was right there. The league was calling. You could almost hear it in the way people was talking about him. The once overlooked zero-star kid from West Columbia, Texas, who went from UIW to Washington State, had officially entered the NFL conversation. So on New Year's Day 2024, Cam did what everyone expected. He declared for the draft.
What's up? It's Cam Ward, and I'll be declaring for the 2024 NFL Draft.
All those early mornings, all that doubt, the folks who told him that he wasn't built for this, nah, Cam was on his way. Wazoo fans showed him love. Scouts started sketching out his draft stock, but quickly they started projecting that Cam was a low priority quarterback. They were even telling Cam to his face that he was a day 2 pick, meaning he could have landed in rounds 2 or 3.
I took it personal. I tell myself every day that I'm the shit. So I wake up and I tell myself I'm the best player in the country every day, and I really stand by that.
He felt he was a first-round draft pick. We had a conversation the other day, and he was like, shoot, I would at least went 10.
Then, just like that, he flipped the script. Less than 2 weeks after declaring, Cam pulled a move that was so unexpected, it had Twitter in a frenzy. He withdrew from the draft. Not only that, he announced that he was transferring to Miami, the 305, and just like that, the kid who was headed to the pros was now heading to South Beach. The reaction? Man, it was chaos. Football fans were shocked. NFL folks were scratching their heads. Talk shows lit up with debates. Is he scared of the NFL? Is it for the NIL bag? Does he know what he's doing? But beneath all that noise was a very real, very intentional decision. This wasn't impulsive. Cam didn't just wake up and change his mind. This was a soul searcher, a family meeting type of moment. Late night convos with mom and dad. Advice from mentors who've seen the league up close. They looked at everything. Draft grades, team fits, film breakdowns, all of it. They talked about legacy, about risk, about timing. And Cam, he listened, soaked it all in, but at the end of the day, this was his call. Here's what it came down to. Cam knew he could be better. Yes, he balled out at Wazoo. Yes, he was league potential, but his draft class was stacked. Caleb, Jaden, Drake, Penix were names with first round buzz that would have pushed Cam down the board, no matter how good he was. And Cam wasn't trying to sneak into the league in the back door. He wanted to kick that thing open. The move made perfect sense. Once you looked past the headlines, Miami offered everything he needed. A bigger spotlight, a pro-style offense under Coach Mario, and the kind of national attention that comes with putting on those orange and green threads. The U ain't just a school, it's a brand, a pipeline, a place where quarterbacks go to get Sunday ready. And let's be real, this was 2024. NIL changed the whole game. A player like Cam, star power, personality, production, he was going to eat off the field as much as he was on it. Word was his NIL valuation in Miami was touching 7 figures. So yeah, money played a role, but it wasn't the only reason. It was just part of the equation. Cam wasn't choosing cash over competition. He was choosing development and opportunity, growth and visibility. He wanted to walk into the draft a year later as a franchise quarterback, not a maybe. Cam Ward caught an audible at the line. He saw the blitz coming, changed the play, and trusted himself to make it work. Now the spotlight shifts to Miami. One more season, one more shot, and a whole lot of eyes watching to see if the bet pays off. But if history tells us anything, it will. The summer of 2024 hit different in Miami. The streets were hot, the buzz was louder than a South Beach DJ set, and all eyes were on one man, Cameron Ward. The transfer quarterback out of Washington State had the whole city talking. Miami fans were hyped like it was 0-1 again. Folks were calling him the program savior before he even touched the field. On paper, there was supposed to be a quarterback battle. In real life, that talk ended the moment Cam laced up the cleats and stepped onto the practice field. The 6'2 Texan moved different, calm and commanding. Like this was his show and everybody else was learning their lines. Coaches saw it, players respected it, and the fan base felt it in their bones. Cam was that dude, no cap. Then the season started, and bruh came out the gate cooking. Opening night, Miami went to Gainesville and embarrassed the Florida Gators in their own house, 41-17. Cam dropped 385 yards and 3 tutties like it was light work, quiet the whole SEC crowd, and turned doubters into believers with just one game. From there, it was curtains. Every week he was surgical, 300-yard games were routine. But the moment that really cemented Cam's legacy came mid-October. Week 6 in Berkeley, California, Miami was getting washed. Down 25 at the half, it looked like it was wraps. But Cam, he ain't blink. One drive after another, a scramble here, a laser there. The man flipped the script in real time and ended up leading Miami all the way back with 437 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and a game winner that had the Golden Bears fans silent. The final score read 39-38, and the comeback was damn near cinematic. After that, it was like the floodgates opened. Cam tore through the rest of the schedule, whether it was conference games under the Hard Rock lights or rivalry week smoke with Florida State. He was that guy. He even caught a touchdown on a trick play against FSU, just for the drama. That win alone had Canes fans talking crazy, like the glory days were creeping back. By the end of the regular season, Miami was 10-2, first 10-win season since 2017. The playoffs just slipped out of reach, but nobody was mad because everybody knew who brought the swagger back to the U. Cam finished the season in the Pop-Tart Bowl with 3 more touchdowns against Iowa State, where Miami lost in a close 42-41 game. And after the curtains closed, the awards started to roll in like credits at the end of a masterpiece. Davey O'Brien Award, Manning Award, All-American, ACC Offensive Player of the Year, and ACC Player of the Year. Something no Miami quarterback had ever done. Bro even broke the Hurricane single-season passing yards and touchdown records. Numbers that legends never touched. 4,300 yards and 39 touchdowns. Let that sink in. Oh, and about those 39 touchdowns, that led the entire country. By the time the Heisman ceremony came around, Cam was suited up in NYC, standing tall as a finalist. The first Miami quarterback in over 20 years to even get invited. He didn't win, but 4th place never looked so good. Just being there in the moment was the exclamation point of the wild college career, from no stars to superstar, from Incarnate Word to the Heisman stage. The man had arrived. But just as one chapter is closed, another one is opening, and the next arena is finally the NFL. Now, just 1 year ago, he was projected as a 2nd or 3rd rounder. Now the conversation was, could Cam Ward be the #1 overall pick in the 2025 draft? The debate was lit. Cam versus Shedeur Sanders. In workout videos uploaded by Deion Jr. on Well Off Media, the duo looked like the top dog sharpening their skills. Now, after both had good seasons, they find themselves fighting for the same prize at the next level. The narrative is irresistible. Ward versus Sanders, not in a game, but in the draft war rooms and front offices. Who would claim the mantle of the top quarterback in the class? NFL insiders spoke about the neck-and-neck race, with some favoring Sanders' polish and others like Cam's production and fast release. One dramatic storyline had the quarterback-needy Tennessee Titans holding the #1 pick, essentially deciding between Cam and Shedeur as the franchise future, but you could feel the quiet competitiveness underneath it all. One viral clip caught him talking a little trash.
You don't call. I'm not trying to compete with you. You gotta show me. I'm not trying to compete with you. You should.
And to be honest, that's Cam in a nutshell. Confident, composed, and always betting on himself. The same way he did coming out of high school with one offer. The same way he did transferring up from FCS to Wazoo. The same way he did when he turned out the 2024 draft to take one more swing in college and ended up delivering a masterpiece in Miami. Now he's headed to the league with momentum, buzz, and a chip on his shoulder. He's not just trying to make it, he's trying to take it over. And this is why you should never, ever give up on yourself when things aren't looking too good in the moment, because you will never know how it will turn out.
And what is your biggest dream for yourself as a quarterback?
To make it in the NFL, hopefully someday, God willing, I'll be able to play at the highest level of football. If not, if he has another plan for me, I'm fine with it.